Okay, perfect. Look at that. We have people coming in. Amazing. Okay, so as everyone's entering, I will just say some hellos. So hi everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for a deep dive session into an exciting new partnership. My name is Stephanie Gelman, and I'm with LePage, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's webinar with Requity Homes. Um, Now, a little background before we get jumping right in. Sometimes you guys as real estate professionals, you're going to encounter some clients who want to buy a home, but they're not quite mortgage ready for a whole pile of different reasons. And that's why we officially partnered with Requity Homes, Canada's #1 rent-to-own platform. They're the only rent-to-own company in Canada partnered with CMHC, and their mission is to create a fair, flexible, and responsible alternative path to home ownership. Okay, so today we're going to look at exactly how this program works and who is eligible, and then we'll learn how you can seamlessly refer your clients and leverage Requity Homes' co-branded marketing tools. A few quick housekeeping notes before we begin. If a question comes to you at any time, feel free to put your questions for our speakers in the Q&A feature. We will also monitor the chat, but I like to try to keep the chat to chat as much as possible and questions in the Q&A. We are recording this session, okay? And we're going to send out a copy of the recording to you. So if you need to leave at any point, don't worry. It's being recorded. And now please join me in giving a warm Royal LePage welcome to our special guest speakers from Requity Homes. We have founder and CEO Amy Ding and Chief Operating Officer Marianne Taggio. Amy and Marianne, over to you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Definitely would love questions as we go along because we definitely want to have more of a conversation than a presentation. And of course, the team here is going to be available for any questions after this call and certainly over the coming days and weeks and months. So we're very excited. We started a relationship with Royal LePage back in January when we launched our online part of the relationship. And so I know that a number of you here today have participated in that. So this is a wonderful extension of that relationship. And we're extremely excited about the potential that exists. Maybe before I actually go any further, I would love for Amy just to, because she's the founder of this great organization and just she obviously shares a DNA with all of you, given her background. So maybe Amy, a couple of words as to why you started this organization. And I know they're going to hear a little bit more from you later on, but I think let's just get us started with a great story on why we exist.
Yeah, well, very nice meeting you all. And my name is Amy. I started the company because I had a challenge just getting a mortgage myself over a decade ago. Saw the opportunity. No one was doing anything in Canada. So I thought, you know what, why not create something of my own? And yeah, very happy to be here and passed over to you, Marianne.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we're opening this up for a dialogue. So we think we have enough of the slides that cover everything that you might want to ask, plus more. So happy to jump around. What we know is we're hopefully trying to solve a problem that you are currently experiencing. Based on our research and in our knowledge, we believe that in or about 30% of the leads that you're working on don't ever get past the finish line. And not that we can solve for the full 30% that you're seeing. Many of these leads basically lead to a path where people are basically ready from a financial perspective. Myself and the team have deep roots in financial services, so we have collectively over a couple of hundred years of experience. And what we do know is we know how this system works. So what we're able to do, hopefully, is help Canadians basically get into home ownership sooner than what a traditional institution would have them wait for. And we're going to explain how that's going to happen. So although we might not be able to help you with a full 30%, if there's just even 2 to 3 deals over the course of a year that we can help you with, if you go to the next slide, that can equate to around, anywhere between $15,000 and $22,000 in your jean pocket. And what we are most excited about this is the Canadians that we represent behind those numbers. So what we hope to do is explain how we can help and how we can partner strongly in placing more people in homes and more money in your pocket. So first of all, a little bit about rent to own. For those of you who do not know rent to own, our program is very unique. We're number one in Canada. We are partnered with CMHC. So that's a big differentiator. For those of you who know CMHC, they are basically one of 3 insurers in Canada. They're obviously a crown corporation, so probably one of the toughest insurers on the street. We were very lucky. Amy went to them at the very early stages of this organization, brought them documentation that they reviewed, which is very helpful from a process of getting them getting clients eventually a mortgage. But they scrutinized our documentation, so it is very insurer friendly. We've had a ton of success up to date, and we'll share that with you in a second. But what that does is that documentation basically ensures a very streamlined process when the client's ready to buy back the home from us. That's number one. Number two is we are also been a benefactor as a partner of theirs of some funding. And it really speaks and attests to the value that we bring to the table, the problem that we're trying to solve, and the way we try to solve it. So a really big check mark if you're ever questioning the validity of our organization and what we stand for. To date, we've had a ton of success in ensuring that we have very strong client satisfaction, as well as financing. We have enough financing to fund a deal a day today. So if, at the end of this call, a deal came in a day, we can actually close that. What that gives you is confidence is that financing will never be the issue why we say no. We do qualify clients, and you'll hear a little bit more how we qualify clients. But from a funding perspective, you pretty well have a very strong deal in front of you from a client. Right now, also, 1 in 4 of those clients are actually closing or buying back that home within 12 months. That basically is a strong testament to how strong the clients are. We actually start coaching the clients immediately after they close the deal with us. So as soon as they go into that home, they become our tenant, and we go into a coaching program with them and start coaching them specifically on the gaps that they have that are standing in the way of them being able to be qualified by a traditional lender. And the program is so strong that right now 1 in 4 are actually being qualified to buy back within that 1 year. We also differentiate ourselves from the fact that the client chooses their home. So you'll see in the process that we share with you in a second is that once the client has been approved by us, we give them what's called a house purchasing budget. That budget goes along with that client. That client basically starts shopping with you immediately once they get fully approved. And that budget gives you confidence that if you stay within that budget with that client, you pretty well have a home that's going to sell. We are the purchaser. You will be working with Amy very closely, as well as our operations leader right now, who is Alex. And together there is a process, which again, we'll cover a little later on, but you really have confidence that when you start shopping with that client, you have a pretty solid, a solid deal here. It's as good as a relocation package. The last thing we really want to focus on this particular side is the flexibility that our clients have. You will learn from us that we lean very heavily in favor of the client. And one of the aspects that we're very proud of is that we allow the client to buy back that home from us at any point in time during a 3-year period, which is the length of the contract that we have with them. That means that as soon as they are mortgage ready, we will tell them they're mortgage ready and they start working at that point. in getting themselves into a mortgage with a typical lender, whether it's a Sketty Bank, like a BMO, a Royal Bank, a Bank of Nova Scotia, a credit union, or any of the aggregators. And they can do that at any time with no fees and no penalties. So that's just a little bit about us, and you'll find a little bit more as we go through the process. So ask those questions. We're going to share this deck with you. Many of the testimonials are not only on our website, but you'll see also partner testimonials. But these are real clients. These are their experiences. This is where they live. And we've really punched out for you how quickly they're buying back. And so take some time when you're doing a little bit of due diligence on who we are to actually go into the testimonials, both on the partner as well as the client side. They're very, very powerful and they speak for themselves. So who do we target? Who do we see coming through our doors? Typically 5 buckets of types of Canadians that are walking through. One is a self-employed group. This group typically is challenged because they're not claiming 100% of their income for tax purposes. They're trying to keep more of the money that they earn. The downside to that is when they're not claiming as much, they don't qualify through traditional channels. We will take a look at all of the income they earn. We go based on a cash flow basis. And then, as I had mentioned, we do coaching. So once we get them into the program and they're in the home, they're renting from us, we also get them ready to ensure that they actually are claiming the income that they need in order for them to qualify. So income is number one as to what we typically see. Also, if you find out that your client is in, a self-employed position, but they have less than 2 years of experience in that new business of theirs, I can tell you right now, they will have a very difficult time in approving. Banks, credit unions, traditional lenders want to see at least a 2-year run rate. So it's one of the reasons why our program works extremely well for them. We help them during that period of time, get them mortgage ready, and then they're able to buy back and qualify. Those are two of the kind of the biggest reasons self-employed really works for us. We also have a big bucket that is our newcomers to Canada. One of the biggest challenges that we see here is people that are waiting for permanent residency status. As you all know, that's very difficult, a very laborious and long wait. We will take them in advance of their permanent residency status. So that's a huge lift. Also, what helps, particularly in Ontario, is that there is obviously a foreign tax here that's levied. With us purchasing the property directly in Requity's name, we basically work in a very creative way on how to work around that. And then obviously at the right time, client buys back and that whole 25% is avoided. So that's a huge, huge gain. Another reason newcomers become very good an opportunity segment for us is they often don't have a credit bureau. Again, lack of a credit bureau in the Canadian system is very challenging. What we will do is we will take them in. We actually report our rent to Equifax, which is one of obviously the credit bureau systems in Canada, and that starts to help them actually build a bureau for them. Also, newcomers, without knowing that there's a credit bureau system in Canada, they often can get themselves into some trouble unknowingly. So there are obviously scores that banks look at, or traditional lenders. Scores mean a lot. And so if a client is actually scoring in the 500 range, that typically will not be looked at by any traditional lender, not even really what we call an Alt-A lender. Usually that's private lending territory, which is extremely expensive, both from an administration perspective as well as a rate perspective. So sometimes those newcomers get themselves into trouble. This kind of bleeds into the credit rebuilders. So we will help individuals that are in the 500 range. We will help individuals that don't have a bureau. What we cannot help immediately are individuals that are in an active form of either bankruptcy or collection. What we can do though is as soon as those items are cleared up, we can actually help them immediately. So they need to be cleared up on their bureau. We can actually help them understand what to do in order to get it cleared up. But once those credits have been paid off, we can definitely jump in and start assisting. Two other quick comments on other pools of opportunity that we see from a segment perspective. One is individuals that are at life crossroads. We see more and more of this actually as time goes on. These are individuals that something has basically come along their way in life, not necessarily planned, that has put them back a bit. A divorce definitely does that. Sometimes a layoff, a relocation into another province or a community, all those types of scenarios we can help. On the divorce side, just let me share with you that we can actually help individuals that are going through a divorce but haven't signed the final documents or their divorce settlement. We can help them in advance. That could be a long wait for many people. This at least gets them into the market, into the home that they like, and then as they're waiting for that settlement to finally be signed, they're actually building their equity within a home that they actually love. The last segment is the millennials, and you can just know that this is basically many of our kids. These are individuals that have lost faith in their ability to actually buy a home. What we're finding with millennials is that they make the money, they lack the deposit. Our deposits go as low as 2%, so keep that in mind. With 2%, that makes it less of a barrier for millennials. They can go to the bank of mom and dad, get more of a gift, which we would do accept gift letters, and a combination of what they've saved with what's gifted to them. It just makes 2% a lot more feasible. Okay, thanks, Nikki. So a couple things. We know that you don't spend a ton of time, and nor do clients reveal a lot of information about their financial situation. But a couple of things just to keep in mind as you're having your conversation so that we're setting up the client for success. We are definitely setting a client to at least be approved by a traditional lender within a 3-year time frame. What that means is they must have an income. They must be earning some sort of income at a household level. The minimum threshold that we see in our system, based on everything that like communities that we work in, and in general, is 70,000. I can tell you that on a case by case basis, that might alter, but it is a really good rule of thumb to have that there must be a household income of around 70,000. In some of your communities, and you know which those communities are, that 70 can easily become 90 or 100 because the price range in those communities is greater than what our average is. And our average really is anywhere between, I'd say, 300 to 400, landing in a sweet spot of 350 and maybe inching up a little bit from there. So if you're in that, if that price range, 70 is a good earmark, but as you get closer to the higher ranges, that'll go up. Savings as low as 2%. The more savings they have, the greater chance that we can approve them. Also, that 70, it impacts that 70 because if they've got a bigger sum to put down, and if that house purchase price is lower, that 70 can go down as well. So again, some things to keep in mind. And then I touched on this, we can do a lot when it comes to credit. The key thing is if you're hearing bankruptcies, consumer proposals, or they're in any active collections, we cannot help them. Not at that stage. As soon as those things get paid off, we certainly can jump in and assist them. Welcome any questions as we go along, because I know I'm covering a lot at a pretty clipped space. So let me just tell you what happens is you will refer. I'll go through the process in a second. The client is going to get a referral link from you that has your personal connection to that referral. So it will basically build in your partner portal a list of all of the clients that you have that's referred to us by you. The client on that link completes basically 10 questions. They're very easy questions to complete. Everything from what's your name, your address, to what community do you want to live in, and then obviously a couple of key questions around credit specifically. How much are they making? What do they owe in credit? What is their monthly obligations? And this helps us all basically qualify them. Once they complete those 10 questions, I can tell you that we have a very tight SLA, which means that our service level agreement with you and our commitment to get to those clients is basically within 1 business day. Oftentimes, we're looking within 10 minutes of that lead coming in. We will do all the heavy lifting. We'll get on the call with the client. We will actually go through the questions. We'll collect documents. As soon as that client is being approved, what we call a full approval, we will actually push out a house purchasing budget for you and them. In the event that they get declined, we will also let you know and the client know when they've been declined. If there's something that we foresee in their application that makes us believe that they're within 6 to 12 months of being able to be approved, we'll actually earmark a very tight follow-up with them so that we can keep them close in on our radar screen. Anything greater than that, we will let them know what they need to do, but we will definitely, let them know that they need to re-engage with us at some point. Sometimes it's 18 months, 24 months. We'll have them in our system, but we will not as actively follow up with them as we would anyone in the 6 to 12 months. Okay, so give you a sense of what the math looks like. We get this question a lot. So client basically is looking in this particular example, a purchase price of $350,000. What we're doing is here in this example, giving you a side-by-side comparison as to what does it look like if a client deposits 2%, which is the bare minimum, or goes up to 5%. The interesting thing about 5% is that 5% qualifies them for a high ratio mortgage. We'll explain how that works, but those are the two examples. The very first thing that we do is we jump to the bottom of this grid where it says year 1, year 2, year 3 buyback price. So very transparently, the way our program works and the way that Requity makes money is that we basically charge a client 5% appreciation from a buyback perspective year over year. So in the simplest terms, that means that 350,000 purchase price that we're buying on their behalf today, whenever they buy back within the first 12 months, they're buying back at 367,500. That's a 5% appreciation over 350. In year 2, that becomes 385,875. And in the last, 36 months of the program, it goes up to 405,169. So why is that number important? That number is important because what we know is that by the end of year 3, they have to have a minimum of 5% in order for them to qualify for high ratio mortgage in Canada. So we calculate 5% of 405,169, which means that they have to have a deposit of $20,258. So in the 2% scenario, because they've only deposited $7,000 upfront at the beginning of the program, we now have to look for another $13,258 in savings that they have to have earned by the end of 3 years. On a simple prorated basis, that means that if you look at the savings segment of this of the monthly payment, that means prorated, that comes out to $368 a month. So every month we will collect from them $368 over and above the rent portion. And what that means is that 368 will be allocated every month to their deposit. That ensures that by the end of year 3, that we'll have the full 5% we need. Now, just as a quick comparison, when you look at the 5%, that savings component drops down drastically to $77. The reason that is because the difference between the $22.58 that they need and the $17,500 that they deposited on day 1, that delta is a lot smaller, and hence so is the saving component that they need to appreciate. So now let me just take a couple of minutes to talk about what the rent portion of this is. In the simplest terms, rent basically becomes the carrying cost of that home. It means that on a 2% example, what we do is we go out and we get a mortgage on that home for $343,000. That's the difference between the 7,000 that they deposited and the 350 that they purchased it for. So 2715 represents mortgage payments, principal, interest. It includes the homeowner insurance plus the property tax. And then you can see the example in the 5% that goes down, obviously, because the deposit is that much greater. So those are two good examples to have. We do have calculators, but I'll make a couple more comments and then I'm just going to open it up for a moment to ask any questions because I'm definitely going through quite a bit of information. You might find that a client will say to you, well, gee, that 2715 is greater than my rent. In some cases, they're absolutely right. In other cases, they're wrong because honestly, it depends on the purchase price of the home. But what we do know is this, is oftentimes individuals are moving out of an apartment and into a house. The house comes at obviously a greater cost, but there's some huge advantages of doing that. A, they get into the market. B, that there's an active savings program that's being built for them. They've got expert coaching to get them into home ownership, and they start appreciating any of the equity that's built into that program, into that home while they're actually living in there, including while they're tenants. Right. So it's a very different scenario from just renting and not having any skin in the game and not having any plan towards home ownership versus having something as structured as this and having the option. They have the option to buy at any time. They do not have an obligation to buy the home, but they absolutely have the option of buying. And those are some really important differences that when you're speaking with your clients and they're looking at numbers and weighing pros and cons, those are some of the things that you may want to think about. Do we have any questions as we go through this? And I'm sorry, I don't have everybody up on my screen. So if I'm missing anybody, please call it out. Stephanie, I know that you've got an
Yeah,
eagle
no,
eye on that.
I've got an eye on it, Marianne. I think you're
Okay,
being incredibly thorough. You have a very interested audience. There is
perfect.
a question about where it is available, and I know that Marianne has that coming up. It's
Yes.
not available everywhere across Canada, so it is available in select communities, and Marianne's going to share with us in which communities it is available shortly. But yeah, I think for now, everyone just seems to be
Okay,
really absorbing the
wonderful.
information.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that question on communities, I think I'm a slide away. So let me
yeah.
just,
There you go.
yes, I
Look at
am.
that. I love it.
There you go. So these are two calculators, and I know that many of our partners are actually embedding these calculators onto their websites. They're fantastic. They are on the Royal LePage corporate site. I know that. And what I would say to you is that if you have a client, they're a fantastic resource for you to have. One of the things that you can do is you can start with what is the purchasing, what is the the household income and work it from there so they can see how much home shopping budget they have. Or you can start with, hey, this individual is really interested in one of the houses that I have up for sale. And you can start with what's the purchase price of that and then work their information from there. So I think you have some great calculators. Please use them. There's a live link in the deck that you're going to get, but also if you go to our website and on the Royal LePage website, there are these calculators and they'll make your life a lot easier. And by the way, we really stick to the rule of transparency. The buyback is there, so they'll see exactly what they're buying back at. As you go through this information, we work with them. There's also a candidness around the program. So please use them as you go into it. Now, I know we had another question. I'm going to definitely answer it. It's the type of income that we would qualify. But let me just answer first the communities that we serve. So we're in 4 provinces, and hence why the people that are on this call represent those 4 provinces and specifically the communities that we're targeting. We love Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and for the most part in Ontario, we would say the northern part of Ontario, although there is definitely a 401 corridor that we love because it holds some great opportunities, including into the kind of golden shoe of Ontario. But let me start with Alberta. And this is really for illustrative purposes. This is not an exhaustive list of all of the communities. So if you don't see your community on this quick snapshot, it doesn't mean that we're not there. But these are ones that we've had a little bit of a foothold in. We want more. We think that there's huge promise, particularly when we're looking at a year-over-year increase of 5%. This is communities that hold their value. What do we typically look for? We look for at least a community that has a population of 20,000 inhabitants. Will we go less than that? Absolutely, we will. However, keep in mind, we will not go into the rural communities of our country. We definitely want the houses that we purchase, typically freehold properties, not condos, and I'll make a comment on that in a second. But we definitely want them on municipal utilities like water and sewage. So you can see that in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, we punch out a couple of those great communities that we've actually had some good success. And in Ontario, the northern parts like the Sioux, the Sudbury, Thunder Bay, Sarnia, all great communities. And as I said, if you don't see anything on this map, and in particular Ontario, there's a lot more than that we serve than what you see. We'd love to hear from you. Let me just pause there. Have I answered that question, or is there a specific community that you want us to comment on?
I see GTA, if you want to kind of talk about that, the GTA area at 300,000. Not much.
Yeah, you're not going to get much in GTA for 600 for 350,000, so that's why we do not really comment a lot on GTA. GTA and let me just comment also on condos. Condos in general, we do not do 2 reasons. One is the appreciation. They do not have the same capability as a freehold to appreciate 5% year over year, particularly in GTA, particularly in this condo market. But we have done condos, and so on a case by case scenario, if you have a really strong deal on a condo, we'd love to look at it. But in general, GTA is not the market we're in. I'm going to have Amy because there's actually a few questions here, just in general. Like we have Dryden, Ontario. So Amy, do you want to add some color to Ontario itself?
Yep, happy to. And I saw there are a few more other comments,
Yeah,
questions as well.
yeah,
Just bear with me because some of the cities you mentioned, I may have not heard about it. So I'm also Googling on the same time on the side as well. So I think
yeah.
just kind of a recap
Like we
what
have
Mayor Mouse
Drumheller,
shared.
which is
Yeah, I
interesting.
think, yeah,
Yeah,
just generally
Alberta.
speaking, if you have 20,000 or more population, you got the solid. Even if the city list is not here, but as long as the population is over 20,000 in those 4 provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, we can do it. So that's kind of a recap. And now it comes to what if, it's smaller communities, less than 20,000 population. General rule without community specific is if it's relatively close to 20,000 population, or it's really close to another major city center has 20,000 population. When I say close, let's just say 20 minutes drive, just give or take. It doesn't have to be exact, right? That usually we can do it no problem. We can do this in Penhold, in close to Red Deer. We can do it in Sexsmith, close to, Grand Prairie. Even we can do in those greater Sudbury area, no problem at all. Regarding the Windsor X County available, yes, Windsor, Sarnia for sure. We do in those specific cities. We absolutely operate it. Dryden, I just Googled it. Fortunately right now it's about less than 10,000 population, and I can't see I don't think it's like that close to a major city center. I think it's sitting in between Winnipeg and Thunder Bay, which we both operate. So and right now, unfortunately, we don't operate in Dryden. And the reason for that is we give our clients the option to purchase. So in the event they walk away, obviously now we had to sell the home, and we prefer more populated areas because we want to sell home in a relatively quickly rather than sitting on it for a few months. And there is this Drumheller, Alberta. I believe that is, I have to double check, see the population. I think if you have a really good clients, we might be able to make some exceptions. But again, I have to double check the area. I think it's less than 10,000. But I know you guys have really good dinosaur museum there. So maybe if you have a really strong clients, bring them to us. We can make we can definitely consider that. I think that's all the question regarding city, right? Did I miss any cities here? I'm just trying to see it.
No, I think you've got them. I think the other thing is, Amy, maybe we just comment that we did go through quite an extensive exercise in trying to list as many of the communities that we're in. So they're definitely on our website. They're definitely on the Royal LePage website as well. We keep adding to that list, so keep the questions coming in. We definitely do exceptions. So if you see something, like just keep in mind what we're trying to do. We need to definitely have that 5% year over year appreciation. So if we're not going to get that, that's really, really tough to set up our client for success as well as ourselves. But there is a good list there. And Nikki, can I just ask you, is that in our realtor kit that we're sending out? Is there that list of communities that we serve in there as well?
On our guideline sheets and our partner FAQs, right at the bottom of the page, our link is in there. So it directs to
Perfect.
the website with all of the cities and communities.
That's what I thought. So
Yeah.
you will get a realtor kit at the end of this, and they'll have really good links to all sorts of resources and a really extensive Q&A that we've put together. So we think that'll be quite helpful. I do want to jump to one question, and I believe it was a little bit earlier on. Is it Rima? I think you asked a little bit about what types of income we're willing to accept, whether pension income or alternative government payments can be accepted. And Amy, I'll have you comment on that.
Yeah, so generally, as long as the income is guaranteed, we can accept it. So, if you think about government income, it could be, CPP, OAH security, or some sort of a ODSP, Ontario disability, or age, depends on the province. So, as long as it's guaranteed for life and they have proper support, yes, we can use it.
Perfect. And I see here, Kirk, great to see you on the system. Kirk asked a question with regards to 20,000 population, but the economy is supported by a primary industry like mining or auto manufacturing. Oh, we're always a little bit worried when there's one major industry in any one of those cities because as goes that industry, as goes the community. But Amy, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point, Kirk, regarding the economy concentration risk. I think I mean, right now as long as it's over 20,000, we're open to it and we closely monitor it. I think at the end of the day, what we need to do is just making sure in the event our clients walk away, we will be able to sell the home and hopefully recoup all the costs we're sinking in. That's kind of a general how we operate. And knowing that obviously the housing market changes all the time. So we just have to keep, monitoring it closely. And also that decision may change in the future, depends on, how much of a, market share or existence we have in one market. Maybe we had to, diversify away. But that's definitely a great question, Kirk.
Thank you. Okay, so appreciate all the questions coming in. Let me just go through the process and then we're going to get into some of the details that I know many of you are asking yourself as to what is the process once we find the home. So let me at a very high level, you've hopefully out of this conversation you register yourself as a client. Once you register, sorry, as a partner. Once you register yourself as a partner, you get a very unique link. That link identifies you. So anybody that is clicking into our site using that link and completing an application or asking us questions about how the program works, once they use that link, they are your client that you have referred into us for. What we do is we basically, within one business day, we contact that client and we start working with them immediately. And what we do is we basically take an application, we qualify them, Once they're qualified, which includes receiving all of the documentation that's necessary to qualify them. So think about what a bank or a traditional lender would look like. If they're basically salaried employees, we will look for T4 slips. We will look for verification of their deposit. If they're self-employed, it becomes a little bit more complicated than that because we'll look for financials, but we'll definitely look for Canadian accounts where funds are being deposited. Anyhow, we go through a process, including the documents, and we get to a point where we will fully approve them. Once you hear those words fully approved, it comes with a budget, a house purchasing budget. So now they're fully qualified and they start actively working with you in finding a home. What's great for you is that you know that these clients do not have any financing condition attached to their offer of purchase. The actual offer of purchase is going to be in Requity's name. Amy's going to walk you through that. And once we agree on a price and the two conditions that go along with it, which is basically a full appraisal, a satisfactory appraisal, as well as a satisfactory home inspection, when those two boxes are clicked, we have now a done deal. It closes, and you basically earn your buyer's commission as an agent on that deal. So that's the process in a nutshell from your vantage point and how it works for you. Of course, once that house closes and they move in as a tenant, we continue to work with that client because obviously we want to get them homeowner ready and get them into a mortgage for themselves. But that is the process. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Amy. Amy's going to start with the home search and the pricing.
Yeah, and do you mind just going back to the previous slide? I do want to answer the two questions we have rather than, continue, because please, if any of you have any additional questions, feel free to use the Q&A and chat function. And I think the first question is from Alyssa about the commission, whether if you bring a client versus Requity give you a client, does the commission, vary? So yes, the short answer, if any of you guys think about, the deals you have that falling apart due to financing, or the potential buyer clients you had that mortgage didn't go through, maybe it's a time to revisit them, give them a call, see where they are. If they are interested in renting to own, they're fully approved, and you will basically help them buy a home, and Requity will be obviously the eventual buyer. You will be our agent. Yes, you get 100% of your commission in those cases because those are your clients, your leads. And on the other end, we obviously have this great relationship with LePage. We also have not your leads, Requity clients, that leads that we send it to you. In those cases, we do ask for a 30% referral for those leads that you do not have access to, and they're fully approved, ready to go, super high quality leads. Okay, so that's kind of a quick answer to the question about the commission. And Angelica, are all the houses in Almas can be bought by this program? Generally we can buy anything as long as they meet our requirements. In terms of what homes, obviously in the cities we operate areas, right? We don't do rural properties, and we don't buy houses that are going to fall apart, the next day. So as long as they're in a solid condition, meet all our requirements, yes, I can buy any houses from seller directly, because whether seller wants to rent on, it does not matter, because Requity has the cash, can buy the home from any sellers and offer it to our clients as the rental platform. And there was another question in the Q&A, which I answered briefly, but I also want to provide some verbal context. And Jim, if you do have any additional questions, feel free to type in the chat box as well. So the question was, at what point in the process of renting to own does the client get approved by CMHC for a high ratio mortgage? It seems like Requity is not a lender, and is that right? And Requity facilitates the equity savings, so the borrower eventually apply for a high ratio mortgage with their own lender. So to answer your question, Jim, yes, Requity Home is not a lender. In terms of at what point do clients actually get approved by CMHC to get a high ratio mortgage? It really varies, depends on how fast the clients can be ready. So they can buy back home at anytime throughout the 3-year term. There's no penalty fee for buying back home early. If anything, the price is actually cheaper the sooner they buy it. And we do coaching throughout the entire program. So it really comes down how fast. And they can work with any lenders, any mortgage brokers they want. And obviously, if they ask for a recommendation, we have a few partners who work in the past as well. So that's to answer your question, Jim. I think there's another one, commission. Do we still give our split to ILP? So I think that might be a question for Stephanie, and or maybe clarification.
Any sale that occurs with Requity Homes would just be treated as a regular sale. There's no difference, right? So in terms of what you pay your individual brokerage split, it's not going to change with a sale with Requity, because really you can just think of them as they're just another purchaser, essentially. So I hope that makes sense.
So I'm going to go ahead. I do want to give everyone a heads up. Believe it or not, I just got a door knock. They said they're going to cut the power in my house. In case I get dropped off, okay, Marianne, please feel free to
I'll
take
be
it
here.
over,
Yeah.
and I will join through my phone shortly after, okay? Believe it
Okay,
or not, I
perfect.
live in Toronto, and now they're going to cut off the electricity for my entire street. So I'll get right
You do
into
have to
it.
pay your bills, Amy. Let me just share with you that.
I paid it on time, but anyway.
You do have to pay your bills. Just kidding. All right.
Okay, perfect. If you guys do have any more questions, please send them our way. And the more questions, the more the merrier, okay? But as I start this process, obviously, and just keep in mind, we just want to give you a high-level overview. Once you started working with us in a live client situation, just keep in mind we will, remind you with everything we discussed today. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I need to remember everything all at once, okay? Let's say you send us a client, the client's fully approved, we give them a budget, right? And the process afterwards is very, very, very similar, like how you help a typical home buyer clients. You take them out, you find the right home for them within the budget, obviously, and just keep in mind what homes we buy, what homes we don't buy. And, whenever the clients find the right home, you just notify us, be like, hey, Amy, my client, Nikki, found this particular home, they want to put an offer. And what we do is we just ask you, say, great, could you send us comparables and, your recommended offer price? We know some markets are still pretty hot today, and we try to be as competitive as we can, but also, be very responsible and not overpaying, especially in a buyer's market. And then once you send us a comparable, review the comparable, discuss it with the clients so that we can decide, hey, you know what? This is the price we're gonna offer. So Nikki, if you go to the next slide. And that process is very similar to your typical, home buying process, right? You share your comp, how much you think the house goes, the buyer discuss it, we discuss with our client, and we give you a final answer, what price, what condition due date, what closing date, what deposit. So we'll give all of that to you, okay? I do want to talk about the type of dwellings quickly, then I'm going to jump back into the question side, okay? So this is going to ask a lot, especially as you start, actually home shopping with client, what kind of homes we buy, what kind of homes we don't buy. Generally, moving ready houses like freehold, we can do it no problem whatsoever. Generally, we prefer homes less than 600,000. So I know we said preferably 250K, but we have bought houses 150K in Regina in the past. It has to be on municipal water, municipal sewage. Again, goes back to a populated area. We prefer the houses with major system upgraded, like furnace, AC, water heater, roof. However, those are not deal breakers. This is more like a nice to have rather than mandatory, okay? And they're also at the same time, just be careful what type of homes might not be eligible, right? We always say, hey, the fixer-upper, TLC, the house that has only one photo with exterior, no interior, generally we stay away from it, right? And we don't do leasehold mobile RVs, and we don't do condos, like we don't do apartment, whatever. We have made exceptions for condo townhouses if they're built in the last 20 years, also with a very reasonable condo fee, and no rural properties. If the house already have a tenant in place and the tenant has a fixed lease with them, either tenant signed a 1-year lease, I can't do it because if I buy the home, I have to keep the current tenant. Obviously, our clients can't move in, so just keep that in mind. And also the homes with structural issues or, knob and tube wiring, asbestos, those we cannot touch. And maybe let me just read some of the questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
Amy, can you just, do we cover Kirk's comments here? Basically modular homes on a poured concrete foundation. I know that this is some of the stuff that we had gone through with Kirk earlier on.
Yeah, and think of Kirk. And so basically, as we know, the prefabricated, manufactured home they become more and more popular, right? And the question comes, can we do it? The answer is yes. However, they had to meet certain requirements. And the reason for that is that we have a lending partner behind us. So whatever homes they can lend on, that's kind of our criteria. So generally for those prefabricated manufactured homes, it has to be on a poured concrete foundation. It has to be on municipal service, and also talk about aluminum wiring. So we don't do aluminum wiring unless it has been copper pigtailed properly, so there is no electrical, safety issues. Poly B plumbing, usually we don't prefer that, again, for insurance purposes.
Perfect. Amy, there was a question, and I don't want to lose it, and it's from Robert with regards to what happens if the client is not ready at the end of 3 years. So now they need a little bit more time.
Yeah, so generally, like our goal is to help people become a homeowner as soon as possible. We understand situations, things can happen. We're more than happy to extend the terms and work with our client to help them get ready, even if it means more than 3 years. The only thing to keep in mind, we do not want to be a landlord forever, right? Like I don't want to renew a lease 1 year and another year, like for like 10 years. At the end of the day, there has to be a clear path where we can work together to get the clients to a position they can qualify for mortgage. We've been very lucky and we haven't had any of those situations, but if it really comes to it, we just have to have the hard conversation, right? Is the priority right now is to buy back the home? Is the priority right now is to potentially, find a cheaper rental and, cash out your down payment savings, and then let's figure out the exit plan. So that's kind of our policy. We're absolutely happy to extend as long as there's a clear path to homeownership. Okay, and the next one, just offer preparation. I'm not going to get into details, but you guys are experts on this, right? Once we just tell you the price, condition, deposit, the due date, you know how to send it in prepare offer and send it as to sign just to this email address. The only thing keep in mind is buyer representation agreement. We cannot sign a generic exclusive buyer representation agreement because our business model, we might be working with several agents for several clients at the same time. So we can never commit ourselves to an exclusive buyer rep in any city with any of the agents. But once you get to that stage, we'll remind you again, okay? So Requity Homes will be the buyer and I'll be the signing officer. By the time you get there, you're going to receive a very detailed email instruction, a reminder again, in terms of, who the buyer should be and what the conditions and how should you prepare the buyer representation agreement. So Nikki, if you could move on. And yeah, so once the offer is submitted, obviously we pray and hope that our offer will be the winning one, and you keep us posted. And we have our operations team right now, is led by Alex, who is very fabulous, and you can reach out to her by email and phone numbers, no problem at all. And generally in our offers, we have, I would say, two conditions. One is home inspection. Keep in mind, we never seen the home, right? And we do need the home inspection, making sure we buy a solid home. In addition to that, we do need appraisal, just making sure we're not overpaying. And once we're happy with home inspection appraisal, then we'll let you know to waive the conditions.
Amy, there's a question here about the cost of home inspections, and I was wondering if you could touch on that.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's a great question. So our clients are responsible for home inspection costs, and that's the only cost they're responsible for. And we will pay for everything else. We'll pay for appraisal costs. When we close the home, we'll pay for legal fees, land transfer taxes, title insurance, everything. And the only thing clients need to pay is home inspection cost. And I saw another question.
Erickson has a question here. I'm not sure I fully understand it. What if a client has a present home or house of mortgage and wants to upgrade and no down payment saved? I would imagine they're selling that home, Erickson. Is that?
Yeah, I don't know, Erickson, if you can speak, but while you type, maybe I'll just do, if you're asked for, first of all, our program is only eligible for people who want to live in the home as a principal residence, okay? So if anyone wants to leverage a program for investment purposes, we cannot do it. It has to be for principal residence. Secondly, if a client is not first-time home buyer, can they be eligible? Yes, they can, as long as they're going to live in the home as their principal residence. However, the only thing here is we do need a down payment. Minimum is 2%. And in no circumstances we can allow someone to start with no down payment. However, Erickson, if you have a particular situation like that, if the client wants to upgrade, but they don't have down payment, as long as their plan is to sell the home, maybe once they sell the home is firm, they're going to have some proceeds. Maybe that's something we can look at it. If their plan is to keep the home, rent it out, and they want to rent on another one, it might be possible. However, they have to have a down payment. And secondly, the current mortgage will be counted as their debt, which means their debt and also potential rental income. The debt income ratio has to be able to allow them to afford another property. So I don't know, Erickson, if any of those scenarios I touched kind of is what you alluded to. So we don't do condominium apartments. Think about those like multiple units, high rise, we do not do it, period. The only thing we made exceptions are condo townhouses. So it's like townhouses, but their condo fees are really low. And also they're built in the last 20, usually built after 2000. So relatively newer developed condo townhouses, we can make exceptions. And okay, gotcha. Will you cover condo doc review costs? Yes, we do cover condo doc review costs as well in those condo townhouses, okay? No condominiums, no traditional apartments. When a realtor makes offer, if we're asked by the buyer's side, are we allowed to disclose that the home will be rental option? I think you meant by the seller side. Of course, you're absolutely allowed to disclose it, right? This is a rental situation, it's the Requity, no problem at all. And the thing is, in some of the cities, like for example, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay, and Edmonton, where we have actually established a longer history. And most likely the sellers that realtor have dealt with us in the past. So usually it should be no problem whatsoever. Okay, thank you. It's great info. Okay, yeah, seller. Okay, perfect. So now the last part is, once the home is scheduled to close, right? Usually what we ask the real estate agents is, hey, please assist with the final walkthrough. And what usually happens 1 day, 2 days before closing. Just want to make sure the home's in the same condition as the last time you take your clients. And I know this might be a common practice for some cities. They may not be a common practice for some other geography. For us, it's always recommended because we learned from our past. And we had a situation where on the closing day, the clients got the key, opened the door. Guess what? It was flooded. It was raining. And had we done this final walkthrough a day or 2 days ago, we could have caught it. It's easier to work with sellers before your lawyer sends money to the seller, right? And it's much harder once the money already went to the other lawyer's trust account. So that's exactly the reason why we always recommend that. And Nikki, if you go to the next, again, I think this goes back to one of the questions. Hey, if people need more time, we can extend it, no problem. But in the absolutely worst case scenario, it's option, not obligation. People can walk away. There is a fee for walking away, and we're very transparent. That's 5% of our original home price, and any money they have saved with us will be fully refunded. And we're happy to extend the term if their financial situation changes, or they're moving to another city. As long as we operate, we will also consider transfer all their savings to another city. It's case by case. So they wouldn't lose anything. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Amy. I know we're coming on to basically 4 o'clock. There's some marketing resources for sure that I'd love to spend a couple minutes on, but maybe this is a good time. Kirk, I know you're on the call. Maybe can we just allow you to come up and just share your own experience? And we have not pumped Kirk with anything, any scripting. It's basically raw and real. And I know Kirk appreciate you willing to share your experience with your colleagues.
Yeah, I'm not sure can you hear me as well or no?
We can hear you. Yeah, don't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. The last deal I had, obviously some of the challenges are in a seller's market like what we have right now. One of the deals I had that eventually fell through was because we had an offer in on a home that had a seller's condition subject to confirmation of purchase. That didn't go through. We extended it once. Um, the buyers on the other end wanted to extend again, and we didn't. And it turns out the Requity buyer found a private listing and that homeowner refused to deal with the realtors. So, in these markets where it's a seller's market and you're looking at backup offers and all that kind of thing, certainly more challenging, just like our industry sees in that type of market.
Perfect. Thanks, Kirk. And just on rent to own in general, Kirk, like from speaking to clients about the opportunity.
Yeah, I guess there's some hesitation with people because, over the past years, rent to own seemed too good to be true, and people are worried about scams and all that kind of thing. So you certainly have to present them with good information and build trust right out of the gate, and allow them to do their research and get back to you, sort of thing. So that will be an objection that we're going to hear, and that we'll just have to deal with as we go along.
Wonderful. And it's really one of the reasons we love partnering with you is because a lot of people do come to us and say, gee, this sounds too good to be true. Is it a scam? But when we're partnered with obviously professionals like yourself with a great brand name behind it and some real feet on the street in the communities that we're serving, it really starts to address that question very loudly and clearly. It's another reason why we do equip you with all sorts of marketing information. We have a number of tools, and if we just go, yeah, we have three levels. And let me first start off by saying the fact that you are with Royal LePage, and this is a real trusted and valued partnership that we have. You automatically are all in the gold tier when we look at our marketing assets and support. When you go through this in the slides that you get, you will just see specifically what each tier represents and offers, and you can pick and choose from obviously all of the tiers. One of the biggest advantages that you have is that Nikki is on this line. You can just quickly call Nikki, set up a Zoom call with Nikki. You can text her. There's many ways in which you can approach her, and she can help put the marketing package together for you. But the bronze tier, some really good fundamentals. We can help you with not only the customer support that we provide, but social media posts. We have some great assets when it comes to product sheets for your clients. We also have what's called an open house pricing sheet. These are sheets that you can use if you are doing open houses that allows individuals that are going through that house that might not see themselves as being able to qualify for the purchase of that home. This gives you another alternative, another speaking point, and some really good examples as to what would that house, mean from a carrying cost perspective. So it gives them some really good information. So on the brown side, we also provide the calculators. You move into the into the silver tier. Thanks, Nikki. And here we can give you some great email templates. There's some landing pages designs that we can offer you as well as blog content. This is all information that we can work with you and in particular the communities that you serve. And then as you begin to get into the gold, here we can do all sorts of team presentations. We have basically co-branded pages that you will have seen up to now. We have partner spotlights. So, and we can work with you specifically for your community in strategizing maybe some mail drops that you want to do, some reach outs to some existing files that you may have lost. All sorts of blog content that you might want to do on different social media channels. And then the one big benefit that you have is you have an individual who is dedicated to your account, the Royal LePage account, who will know your obviously information inside and out as far as a partner concerns. And so if you go to the next slide, you'll have contact information for both Nikki and I think it's one more. Is it Nikki? Where's your information with Jen? There we go. So Jennifer is going to work on your files. She's got a very tight SLA. She will ensure that your client is dealt with immediately. She will work with the client. She will keep you connected. So anything that is client specific goes to Jennifer. She is your contact. We give you multiple ways of reaching her. And then anything that is with regards to marketing, community support, any information you want to know about your portal, how do you qualify individuals, that would be Nikki. So we do have a contest underway. That's one of the slides that we skipped over. It's a refer, win, and fly. So for every full approval that you give in to us, there's a chance to win one of two $1,000 flight vouchers that you would qualify for. You can win one or both. Anyhow, we collect all the ballots up to October 31st of this year. Okay. And I think on a final note, there is a very easy process in which you can sign up as a partner. This is the create your account form. It's as simple as that. You can do it in less than a minute. There's a live link in this deck that will allow you to get into that. And as soon as you sign yourself up, you get your own personal link, and you can start using that immediately. So what happens after this? Let me just cover that, and maybe the last minute that I have. I know we're at 4:05 here, but I think, and Nikki, we can stop. We can stop sharing. There's a ton of resources that we'll provide you, but one of the things that we will do is we will send you a note from Nikki. Nikki will give you what's called a realtor kit. In that realtor kit, there's some great information for you. It's meant to assist you. It's not meant for you to have, obviously memorized or, down pat as far as a working knowledge is concerned, but it'll have pretty well anything that you need from a what do you need to know about rent to own and Requity. The most important thing is having our information as your resource. We're here to help you. We're here to do all the heavy lifting. What we've shared is pretty well some key information that makes it helpful to refer. But at the end of the day, we're your key resource. And so we're here to make it as simple as we possibly can. So please reach out. Any questions on the program, we're here to answer, guiding any of your clients through the program. And of course, I think one of the most important things is that this is a partnership. So you will get leads from us as well. So it works both ways. And I know that Sebastian, I'm not sure if he made it on the line, but he's been the benefactor of one of our leads. And that's the way we work. Good partners go both ways, and that's the way we plan to do it. So that's all we had prepared for today. I don't know, Stephanie, if there's any final questions.
Well, there was one question somebody asked about, is there a cost
Yeah.
for the agents to sign up as partners? And I just wanted them to know, absolutely not. There is zero cost. It's just a complete benefits. There's no cost to sign up as a partner with Requity. Yeah, I wanted to make that apparent. There's a question about what are your business hours, especially because we're such a vast country and, so many time zones in Canada here.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't think we mentioned
So we
the business
operate 6 days
hours.
of the week. We have basically coverage up till basically 8 o'clock at night. But one of the most important things that we get asked often is if I have a live deal, an offer going in, are you guys going to be around? Will you be around at when it's really important to be able to respond to that? And I can tell you that Amy is definitely, whenever we have an offer going in, she's on alert. So is our head of operations. So like, unless it's like 2 in the morning and she's sleeping, I can tell you that we definitely make every effort, irrespective of where that offer is in the 4 beautiful provinces that we serve. We are on high alert. Yeah, and so we do cover quite a bit of the day. We go up to 8 o'clock at night. We have representation in Western Canada. We have somebody obviously in Alberta. We have somebody here in Ontario. But we definitely watch those calls coming in, and we work them extremely hard.
It's amazing. Okay, so I see some thank yous coming in. I mean, I think it's a testament to how much interest there is that we didn't have people stuck around, even though we ran a little late, because it's such an amazing program. There's lots of interest. So I wanted everyone in attendance to know, just as a reminder, folks, that we did record this. Okay, so we'll send out a recording of this, okay? And those of you who provided consent, you will also receive some information from Requity when you signed up, right? You were asked if it was okay for Requity to get in touch with you. So those of you who said yes, you're going to get some info packages. If you said no and now you regret saying no, let me know. Okay, we can put you back on the mailing list. That's no problem at all. Okay, so you can email me. I'm going to throw my email because here I'm saying let me know, but I didn't tell you how to get in touch with me. So let me just make sure I didn't do a typo there. Okay, so you can email me at leadmanagement@royallepage.ca. Okay, if you have any questions just about this in general, right? If you yeah, and like I said, we'll be sending you recording. We're super excited. This is great. It's a great opportunity. I want to thank Marianne and Amy and Nikki. I just like I wish that something like this had been around for me as a young person when I was trying to get into the market, and I know it's so, so important. It's just a wonderful thing that you guys are doing. Great business model. Our friend Kirk, thank you, Kirk, for coming on and speaking a few words. Kirk's had some very positive experiences working with Requity up in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Um, you know, uh, Marianne was mentioning our friend Sebastian in Windsor. So we have a few other agents, that have already been working with Requity. Everybody's real happy with these folks. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say thank you to Kelly and to Stephanie and, a group of very dedicated individuals in the corporate office who are constantly looking for ways to create value. And we know that this isn't the silver bullet when it comes to solving Canada's, housing issue. But what we do know is it takes partnerships like this that start to fill some of those gaps. So thank you for being leading edge here. You will be the only corporate office that we deal with, at that level. And so there's a real advantage for obviously the agents and brokerage owners that are within this great group of communities. And so we really look forward to working with you. So thanks, Kelly, and in particular for being open-minded about this when we last met. I think we started meeting back in August of last year. So
I was going to
it's
say it's
been
coming up
absolutely a
on a
privilege.
year almost. It's
It's been a
wild.
privilege. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to some great things to come.
Okay, perfect. Take care, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
everyone. Have a
I
great
know.
afternoon. Appreciate the time.